Welcome back to another episode of Mindful Money with Max. My name, you guessed it, is Max, and today I am here with the reason I am here, the man, the myth, the legend, my father, David Matles. In 1998, two very special things happened. One, it was the year I was born, and it was also the year that David entered into the financial planning industry, where he would eventually go on to change thousands of people's lives and build a business that now manages over $300 million. But that's not even the most impressive part about David. What has impressed me more over the years is how generous David is with his time and his energy. Not just for people that have millions of dollars, but for absolutely anybody that he feels he can help. Dave, can you explain to me what inspired you to get into the financial planning industry all those years ago?
I sure can. And you can call me Dave or you can call me Dad, whatever you prefer. So I used to have a financial guy in the 90s. His name was Gordon, and he used to drive a nice black Mercedes, and he used to come to my house in Yorba Linda, and he would basically just take our money and invest it. And I was in the truck leasing industry at the time, and I had a hard time thinking that I was ever going to keep up with that for the rest of my life. And I had an aha moment, and I remember where I was. I was in my little teeny office in my house, and I said, you know what? I think I would do a better job because I think I had better social skills than Gordon. I think I loved the financial industry. I found myself reading the Sunday paper and reading the financial stuff. And I remember that my mom had always told me to love what you do. So I think it was in January of 98, I went and got my Series 7. I kind of was moonlighting. I was studying for my Series 7. I was a national sales executive at Rollins, truck leasing at the time. And I remember being on a plane studying for it, and it was a horrible experience, but I was really excited because I found something that I love, and I have never really lost that love for it. And to this day, it's just been the most rewarding thing that I've ever had. And so that's basically how I started in the financial industry.
I haven't shared any of these questions with David beforehand. We're going to maintain an element of surprise here. I want to jump to something very current and very interesting that I think has transformed not only your personal life, but your planning practice over the years recently. And that is integrating artificial intelligence. Can you tell me about how artificial intelligence, these tools like Gemini and ChatGPT and Grok and all sorts of different AI programs have allowed you to not only transform your personal life and learn quickly about niche information, but how you've adapted that into a rapidly growing financial planning practice?
Most of our communication is run through ChatGPT, let's say. To get the grammar and the tone and the complexities of what we're trying to say to our clients. Robert and I were talking about it today. We can answer questions and we can get through so much more material now than we ever could, which allows us to free up our time to do what's really important, which is taking care of our clients. One thing that I feel really amazed at is that when I talk to our clients about artificial intelligence and robotics and things like that, a lot of times it's hard for financial people to really explain how that fits pragmatically to the client's experience. One of the things that stand out in my mind is that we're now able to use a concept called direct indexing. We can take what used to be a mutual fund and has evolved into an ETF, and now has evolved into an SMA or a UMA, but a direct index type of investment. But bottom line is we can use these more complex vehicles that basically track an index. So you're going to get the same returns, but it's a way to monetize the stock losses throughout the year. What they do is they're basically using artificial intelligence and algorithms and things like that, so they know when to sell Coke and to buy Pepsi, whereas years earlier it would have just not been possible to take advantage of things like that. So for those who are really into indexes, and we're big fans, we're able to not only track the index, but we can also monetize losses along the way, so our clients could potentially have paper losses along with the gains of the Russell 3000 or the S&P 500. It's just a fascinating example of how artificial intelligence is used today by an office like ours.
Well said. And the way that I have seen artificial intelligence impact our business over the last few years is, ironically, I feel like it's added a lot to the human element. It's taken a lot of some of the busy work out of it, and it's gotten us more in front of clients, really just able to see, hear, and listen to them, being fully present, knowing that we're going to be able to take care of the back office stuff a lot easier.
I really believe that having somebody young and motivated on our staff like you has inspired me and it's kept us relevant as a firm to keep up with technology and do the things that maybe some other people in the financial industry aren't doing, which really makes us different. I think that we experience that when we go to our national meetings or we talk to other reps around the nation. I think the experience our clients get here, it's so much better than what they're getting throughout the national average. We're really amplifying what we do. And so we probably take a lot of this for granted, but our client experience tends to be really significant. And I don't think AI is going to replace advisors, but I think guys like us who are using AI and all the modern technologies to give a great experience are probably going to replace the older guys or gals who are just deathly afraid of using technology and AI and robotics and quantum computing and whatever the world has in store with us. We're embracing it, whereas others are terrified of it. And we have no choice. Technology is only going one way. And we can give our clients an experience, whether it's brick and mortar right here in this office, or we can do it through Zoom or telephone or snail mail or email. However clients dictate the relationship, we can accommodate. We try to make that experience just an awesome experience with great outcomes for the client.
So one of our mottos here has always been healthy, wealthy, wise. And so can you explain just very briefly about how you've used AI not only to transform your workouts and your CrossFit experience, but also your nutrition?
Sure. Thank you for bringing up CrossFit. We almost went a whole conversation without talking about CrossFit, but you fixed it. So yeah, I think that's kind of what we stand for. And I think you've really, I say this a lot and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, but I think I've learned as much from you, Max, as you have from me in regards to this career. And so healthy, wealthy, wise is the concept is that we really try to inspire clients and prospects to think basically, what would you do with your time if you had enough money? And what I mean by that is if you're just putting points on the board and you're just putting, more money in your pocket, do you ever wonder if your son or your grandson's third spouse might be spending that money frivolously? So we really try to get our clients to think, at a certain point, where's the surplus? And if you do have surplus, from a health standpoint, would it benefit you to have a healthier life? Could you possibly afford to get a personal trainer? Could you afford to buy organic food? Could you, add supplements to your diet? Could you spend the money and get a nutritional coach? Whatever floats your boat, I would love to see, and we have seen a lot of our clients really transition to that. And Max, you've seen them from day one till now. I don't know how many years it's been since you've been here, but you see changes in clients and they come in and instead of talking about the nerdy financial stuff that people expect out of us, they're talking about their grandkids or their last trip to Egypt or whatever their cruise was. So that's the healthy. The wealthy is not just about money. I mean, that's a lot of our job is to make sure that we're amplifying and trying to increase your net worth. That's number one. But also wealthy could be spending more time with your family. And a lot of times people just need their financial gurus to tell them you're going to be okay. And when you are going to be okay, we'll tell you. And when you're not going to be okay, we'll say, here's the changes that you need to make in order to have this happen. If your goal is to make X $1,000s a month when you're retired, here's what you need to do now. And I think we do a very good job of simplifying it, making it really easy to understand, and helping people get through some of the toughest times.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, but I think it's an important topic to cover for the audience. I think a lot of people can get something from this. But I want to talk about some of your greatest challenges over the years and how you overcame them. I don't want to get into too many details, but I know that years ago, you went through a really difficult experience where a group of employees went behind your back and betrayed you in a sense. And as a kid, when you had been going through that experience, my life went on like it had normally, and I didn't even really notice, but I look back now and I know you must have been going through a really difficult time in your life. So I want you to share with the audience, number one, how did you stay strong during that period of time? And how did you not only get back up on your feet, but build stronger and better than ever after that experience?
Wow, that's a good question.
So again, element of surprise here. He hasn't heard any of this beforehand.
So there was two really major things in my life, or my business life, that really were difficult. One was right around the time, probably a year after you were born. I had left my national sales job at Rollins and was making six figures and everything was going my way, but I knew that it just wasn't sustainable. I knew that I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to coach Little League. I wanted to be there for you. And I couldn't be on an airplane and I couldn't keep up with quotas, and I just wasn't in the right place. So I had left that world and I went into the financial world, and I knew that was the right place, but man, I had second thoughts for years, and it was really miserable. It was tough. I had a supportive wife who was a teacher, so we never were starving, but in my head, that didn't really take a lot of the pressure off. I always knew we were going to feed the family, but it's a scary feeling thinking that you made a wrong decision and not knowing. There's no playbook after basically high school, maybe college. Nobody tells you exactly what direction to go in. So that was tough. Kind of kept plugging, and then magical things just happened. And then the same thing happened in 2013. I had a group of employees who left, and in California it's a non-compete state. So I found out the hard way how people can turn their back on you and be selfish, and I can kind of leave it at that, but it shows people's true colors. And how I got through that, I think I realized that most of that was in my head because I really didn't need them as much as I thought I needed them. I was able to hire the right people who are still with us today.
I know that you went from a group of about, 15 employees or so, down to just a small elite team of 4 or 5 here at the office now.
It was around the time when the Affordable Care Act came out. I think the Affordable Care Act was passed on March 23rd of 2010, and then it was implemented around 2013. And it was a rough time, and I got through it, but I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy to have to go through that. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are listening that are going through rough times, and all I can tell you is to hang in there, pray, meditate, talk to your friends, and just know that things get better. And I can also tell you that from my experience, and I think I really learned a lot of this from you, Max, is that once you stop thinking about the money and you do the right thing because it's the right time and it's the right place, that's when the magic happens. And again, I learned a lot of this from you, but I know that when we do things because it's the right thing to do. We don't expect anything back. So for instance, if I do something nice for a client, or we reach out, or we do an event, I'm doing that because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy meeting with young people. I enjoy meeting with older people that need the help, what have you. And if you don't expect anything back, that's where call it karma, call it magic, whatever you want to call it. That's where the magic happens. And it's just amplified my business practice, our business practice. And it's just, we get a lot of respect from our peers around the nation, and our clients think we're doing a lot of the right things. And I call it magic. I don't know what else I can call it, but I know it's a compilation of hard work and being at the right place in the right time and doing the right things. But man, I am just so grateful and blessed to be here working with my son and working with wonderful people and having great clients, and we make enough money, and most importantly, we change lives. I mean, you see it, right? I mean, You see clients who come in, even in your time here over the last 6 years-ish, they come in and they're pretty stressed out and they've got anxiety, but people talk to us about their vacation and their grandkids, and after they leave, you and I look at each other and we say, that's what success looks like. And it's such a rewarding career. I'm really blessed to be here sitting with my son doing a podcast right now.
So this is one that we talk about a lot, and I actually already know your answer because we talk about it a lot. But if you had unlimited money, or money was just not an obstacle for you, how would you live your life, and what would you do differently?
I thought you were going to ask me who my favorite son is and why is it you? Gosh, that's a good question, but I honestly feel like if I won lottery, I'm doing exactly what brings me meaning and purpose right here at this place. I mean, who could have a better situation than having your son right next to you doing a podcast, beautiful Pacific Ocean in the background, I always joke, and genuinely changing lives, not just talking about it, but genuinely changing lives I honestly feel like I'm just getting started, and having somebody young who's inspiring me to, we're learning almost every day about estate planning and tax and portfolio management and insurance, and really getting into complicated things now that we couldn't have done 10, 20 years ago. And it's right where I want to be. And I just don't see myself slowing down for a long time. And I could probably go sip on umbrella drinks, but that just does nothing for me mentally. So maybe I'll do that on the weekend a little bit. But I get excited about my work. I look forward to it every day. And there's parts of it that I am not crazy about, like compliance and paperwork and HR and all the detail stuff. But meeting with clients and hanging out with clients who are friends now, it's really a cool thing.
Well, that's a great answer, and it reminds me of the quote that really guides my life, which is, "In the joy of others lies our own." And so through this business, being able to serve others, you really get an up-close experience of how making others happy really brings joy to your own life. And like you said, even with unlimited money, I would still want to be living a life where I'm able to serve others in some way. What are one or two items that are just the cornerstone of what you've learned since you've been in this industry?
I think some of the things that I've picked up on, I don't know if these are the cornerstone, but a couple of things that I've learned that are kind of interesting to me is I tend to see patterns with some of the more successful people. So I don't know if you want to define successful as higher net worth or just a higher level of happiness or more time to spend with their family or time to go do whatever they want to do. So depending on how you want to define success, that's personal, that's up to you. Mm-hmm. But one thing I've noticed is that those successful people are the ones who generally don't have analysis paralysis. I've noticed that one of the characteristics of our clients that tend to be successful, in whatever way you want to define it, they're able to make fairly quick decisions. What I mean by that is they've got the resources that they need, whether we provide it to them or they have it. But we'll make a suggestion or recommendation. They'll know that we've put the time and effort in, and they generally look at it, evaluate it, and either green light it or red light it. They don't take it back and just study it for months. So that was always interesting to me, that I see the most successful people, whether they're pro athletes or somebody running a business or someone just having a high level of happiness, they're able to make decisions really rapidly. And then another trait of highly successful clients that I've picked up on is that a lot of the more successful clients that don't get caught up in the minutia. They want to know that their car is going to take them from A to B. They also are very engaging. So a lot of times I'll find that the more successful clients really engage with us. They call us, they email us, they talk to us. And whether it's us or their attorneys or their estate planners or their tax professionals, they don't feel like they're bugging us. They feel like we're on the same team and we're trying to get them to a higher level. As long as we set that expectation right from the get-go, they know when we call, we're not trying to sell them anything, but we're trying to engage with them because we know somebody left a job, somebody got pregnant, somebody got divorced, somebody died, whatever it is, whether we're checking in. But the more engaged a client is, the better outcomes they have. And I've noticed that over the years. I hope I'm passing some of that information on to somebody like you, Max, because it's really important to know. And you're going to hopefully know all this at a very young age, which I'm very envious of, because by the time you're 30, you'll have 90% of my knowledge, whether it's, hopefully good. But I think you can really take that and amplify it over your career and really change lives.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the lowest hanging fruit in terms of something we can implement to make the world a better place? So let me give you my example. In my personal opinion, I think the number one thing that we could do to improve people's outer lives, so their physical well-being, their financial well-being, would be drastic changes to the global monetary policy. So I think that the way money works, the way that we interact with money, I think is at the core of a lot of the world's problems in terms of scarcity and poverty and stuff like that. And I also think that in terms of improving people's lives internally, the lowest hanging fruit is sharing ideas on meditation and mindfulness and a lot of the teachings from all the religions, and just sharing a message of more compassion, ethics, things like that, to not only improve people's outer worlds financially, physically, but also their inner worlds. Those are some of the things that come to mind for me. But what do you feel like are some of the easiest ways we could improve the world?
There's a couple things that come to mind. One is just mentorship. I think if everybody could grab a young person or a undereducated person or somebody who wanted to learn from them, if we all just grabbed one person and mentored them, showed them the ropes, like for instance, there's a lot of young people that I encourage to come to our office for a couple hours just so that they can see what an office looks like, see how we answer the phone, see how we interact with clients. I think there's a lot of 20-something-year-olds who have never even been in an office before. So to a lot of my friends and clients, I always make the door open to anybody who's got a child or a grandkid who just wants to see the inner workings of a business. I think that just gives them a perspective. I remember being young and not really having a perspective other than what comes in a theoretical book in high school and college. So mentoring, whether it's financial literacy or career opportunities, just to talk to young people. We did that, I don't know if you remember, but we did that a few hours ago when a girl from Amazon came knocking on our door and got us a business account, and she was great, and I just started talking to her about careers and stuff. So I think mentorship, and also I think if we could somehow incorporate financial literacy into education system, mind always goes to financial literacy type of things. Like you could graduate high school and college without ever knowing how to balance a checkbook. I don't know if anybody balances a checkbook anymore, but just things like shopping for a mortgage, understanding what's the difference between a PPO and an HMO, what's good debt and bad debt, what's a credit card, what is interest, what is compound interest, what's the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA, what's a Roth conversion, what's a definition of a stock or a mutual fund. Just things that are more applicable to their real world than, unfortunately, like chemistry and biology and stuff. I never really resonated with those. But man, if somebody could have gotten me better interview skills or told me what a 401k is and why I needed to take advantage of that 401k match the first time I got a job, things like that would have been just so great for people my age, and I'm sure people your age could use that kind of education. But I think financial literacy is just such an important topic, not so that you can get rich and drive a Lamborghini, but so you can balance your budget and you can understand the difference between compound interest and interest on credit cards. There's just so much out there that everybody needs to understand just to live your life. Like I said, how to shop for a mortgage, when to start saving. Just so many really important things in my mind.
So that actually kind of covers my next question, which is, what is one thing that you think we should be teaching in schools that isn't getting taught right now? And for me personally, I think that there should be more emphasis on skills that are actually applicable to our lives. Because I do remember learning a lot about advanced biology and very niche subjects in chemistry and theoretical mathematics and stuff like that versus I never learned how to handle a mortgage or what a car loan looked like or how taxes worked. And so I think one of the things that could make the world a better place is teaching a lot of these very applicable life skills in school, starting at an early age, so that kids can make better financial decisions, which is such a big influence on their life going forward. So I appreciate that you jumped the gun on that one and you answered that pretty clearly. Let's finish off with something fun. So I want you to surprise me with one of the things that you've been most excited to complete in your personal life.
Oh boy, that's a good question. So the one thing that's kind of comes to mind is that I had two boys that were young when 9/11 hit. And after that, Mom and I decided we weren't really going to travel internationally at the time. And it probably made sense too, because it was pretty expensive to travel internationally with two young boys who wouldn't appreciate it. So I think in '02 or '03, we started, as you know, we started going around and seeing all the baseball stadiums in the major leagues. I almost said US, but there was a couple Canadian teams at the time. So we started going around the country and just seeing all the baseball stadiums, and that was fun. And it was a great way to see, Kansas City and St. Louis, because let's be honest, there's probably not a whole lot of reasons to go to St. Louis and Kansas City at this point in our lives, and the two Florida stadiums, and then San Francisco and Oakland. And it was a great way to see the country, and it was a great way to spend time with our family. And it led to a lot of fun things that have come from it. And I think one of the greatest joys was last year when you and Sam, my other son, came to us and say, "Hey, are we ever going to finish?" And we hit 4 stadiums last spring break. So we have 4 left, and we should be finished in about a year. We're going to go to Detroit and Toronto in spring break, and then we're going to go to Seattle probably this summer, and then last one's going to be Boston. So we've seen all of them, but that was a really good accomplishment. And thankfully, our career allows us to take time and do that kind of thing. So if you have the type of career that allows for that, I would highly suggest you do something like that with your family if you can.
So we covered a lot of topics today. We covered some of the traits of highly successful clients that we've seen. We covered what it truly means to bring happiness to people's lives through the financial planning industry. What are some ways we can make the world a better place through education and meditation and all sorts of different things.
We even talked about CrossFit.
We even talked about CrossFit, one of your favorite topics. And we even talked about how to live a holistic life, where it's not just putting numbers on the scoreboard, but it's also about health and wisdom in addition to just building up a net worth. So thank you for joining me here today. I think conversations like this are truly priceless if we're going to make the world a little bit of a better place day by day. And if you want to learn a little bit more about how I think we can make the world a better place and what are some of my visions for that future, check out my book, Fast Money, Fast Times. It's available on Amazon. You can check out our website at matles.com. That's matles.com. There's more information in the description below where you can learn more on how to contact us. And I will see you next time on Mindful Money with Max.